Welcome back to Knowledge Gumbo Conversations. Good to have you back in the house. Woo woo woo. Hey Gretchen, how you doing this evening? Trying to get settled in here. Uh Shout out to the Gumbo fam. Uh if you're watching this on replay, comment below #replay gang. I appreciate you coming and checking us out and having a conversation with us. Let's get started. As we always start with something from last week's newsletter. This day, I'm sharing the quote from last week's newsletter by an author called Karen E. Cunez Miller. The quote says, "When someone tells me no, it doesn't mean I can't do it. It simply means I can't do it with them." Let me share that with you one more time. When someone tells me no, it does not mean I can't do it. It simply means I can't do it with them. I chose to share that quote in last week's newsletter because it hit me because we want people to get on board with what we're doing. We want people to come along and support us, and we especially expect it from our family and our friends. But if that's not their vision, if that's not their heart, and some people they're going to support you no matter what. They're what you call ride or die and going to be there no matter what you do. But then you have other people that they can't see it, and you can't blame them when they can't see it. And when they tell you no, or when they tell you you're crazy, or when they tell you you're too old, or when they tell you you're a woman and you can't do it. There are all kinds of excuses and reasons that someone can tell you no, will tell you no. But that doesn't mean, as she says in the quote, that you can't do it. It just means on this part of the journey, you can't do it with them. Because they might catch up later, or it might be a case of, I'm going to leave them behind altogether, that we're growing in different directions. And I'm just going to say, bless you in your journey, and I'm going to ask God to bless me in mine, and we're going to keep it moving. No harm, no foul, no hurt, no defeat. It just is the way it is. And we can't blame and hold on to offense and anger, because that's energy we could be using to get to where we want to go and to do what we want to do. You cannot be mad at people who don't want to go with us. You cannot be mad at people who don't see your level of greatness. Because greatness comes in levels. And their definition of greatness and your definition of greatness can be two different things. So you wish them the best, you send them on their way, and you go on yours. And if you're doing the right things the right way, the right people will find you. The right opportunities will find you. So I love that quote. It's a beautiful quote. And like I said, I shared it on last week's newsletter. And if you're down with the fam and you want to come along and help us grow this newsletter, grow this Gumbo community, feel free to scan the QR code and join the newsletter. Comes out every Friday, 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Only been late once. Still came out. Just wasn't at 6 a.m. So as we go and moving on to our next section, excuse me as I move my notepad around, we're going to hit it. I didn't update this slide, but we're going to just go with it the way it is. Address it or let it go. Or what I'm really renaming it and what we'll have a new slide for next week is address it or let it slide. And on this week's version of address it or let it slide, a family member keeps bringing up, and this is personal to me, so that's why I picked it for this week. A family member keeps bringing up your single status at every gathering. Do you address it or do you let it slide? And for me, when I was younger, I used to try to address it. But now, as I've gotten older, I just let it slide. Because some people, they just messy. And they're just asking to be messy. They don't have your best interest at heart. They're not asking you because they're concerned. They just want to point out that you're single. And they want to act like it's a disease. That there's something wrong with you because you're still single. Or in some cases, for some people, newly single. I mean, I used to address it mainly with saying that, back in the day, my mom and all her sisters, they had minds like elephants. They forgot nothing. So if you brought someone to a family reunion, to a family wedding or something like that, at the next gathering, they're asking about that person. Even if you're with someone new. Because I had a cousin do that. She brought a boyfriend to one family reunion. And then the next year at the following, she was dating someone else. And all the aunts, my mom and my grandmother, they were all sitting at the picnic table. She came over, brought them in and was like, this is so and so. And they looked at each other, little smirks going back and forth. And they're like, what happened to the other one? And then you have one aunt on one corner go, yeah, he was cuter. And then the other aunt goes, well, how long is this one going to be around? So when I was younger, that was my excuse for not bringing anybody I was dating around. If I wasn't talking marriage, I wasn't introducing anybody to my family. But for all you single people out there, what would you do? Or what do you do? Do you address it or do you let it slide? Or are you that person that's always asking someone about their status, like being single is a disease? And if so, what can you do to cut it out? Don't do it. Don't treat singleness like it's something that we got to rush to get rid of. That is it's something that is catching. But comment down below. Do you address it? How do you address it? Or do you let it slide and say why you let it slide? Okay, as we're getting down to our last segment here, what else don't I know? That's the famous question I asked myself when I started looking at all these women and finding all these stories and voices. What else don't I know? And it's appropriate that my friend Gretchen is here on the live with me because she's a part of this What Else Don't I Know? Because she and her husband and her dog took cross country trip in a van, and she was telling me about the libraries built by Andrew Carnegie, um, or really the proper way to say it is Carnegie, who built all these libraries across the U.S. and she was taking pictures of them. And so I asked myself, out of all the libraries that he built, how many, if any, did he build for Black folks? Come to find out, in the US, Andrew Carnegie built 1,600 and I think it's 89 libraries in the US. Out of them, only 12 were for Black people. 11 of those were built in the segregated South, and one was built in the Midwest in Indiana. Can you imagine that? He built almost 1,700 libraries, but only 12 provided access for Black people. I'm always amazed when I see that, because and he was very intentional about it, in that when these towns and these cities were requesting grant money for libraries, he had them base their request for funding on the white population only. So it didn't matter what other nationalities or people of color were in that town. Their quotes and requests for funding for grant money was based only on the white population. And I just find that really, really foul. He did some really great things, but he did some really horrible things. And the one thing I'm finding out as I'm looking through history to our heroes and heroines or whatever, is to have what's the right word, overall scope of who they are, the good and the bad. Have a balanced view, to stop putting people on pedestals and understand their good sides and their bad sides. Appreciate the good. Don't neglect the bad, because you tend to repeat the bad when we try to stuff it down and it's overlooked. So like I said, as a part of what else don't I know? I didn't know. There were only 12. And as of today, of those 12, there are only 2 that are still open. All the rest, either the building was repurposed or the building was torn down and the land used for something else. So I'm not trying to hold you tonight. That is what I wanted to converse about on today's Knowledge Gumbo Conversations. I'd love to hear what resonated with you. So type it in the comments below before you head out, of what really hit you and what you'd like to share with the community. And if you haven't already joined the Gumbo family by subscribing to the newsletter, I highly suggest that that's something that you do. To take the time out, scan, join the newsletter, join the family as we build this community into a group of informed people. No matter, even though my goal is to educate Black women of a certain age, I believe this information is valuable to the community at large. So join the Gumbo, subscribe to the newsletter, because it's where community and culture come together. And I will definitely see you next week. Let's see if we can do this. Beat drops heavy, heartbeat steady, ready. Check the mirror, see a queen in the reflection. No doubt, full steam, no signs of deflection. Crown on my curls, world